Hello community, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another discussion about the second round of stimulus checks. That's right, I'm going to continue talking about this subject because I think it's extremely important that we keep this in the front of our minds. Unemployment numbers came out yesterday, which was Friday, May 8th. Almost 15% unemployment. I mean, unemployment hasn't been that high since the Great Depression of the 1930s. That's alarming because that represents about 30 million people unemployed, which is 1 in every 5 Americans is unemployed. Now guys, those are just staggering numbers to me, but I also think it supports the argument for more stimulus checks. Now I know there are, states that are reopening for business. I live in the state of Florida and we are gradually reopening for business. I know our malls reopened yesterday, which is again Friday, May 8th. All the malls are reopening, all the eateries are reopening, all the retail mom and pop shops are reopening, and before you know it, the whole country will be fully reopened for business. The problem we're going to run into though is every business is not going to reopen, especially the mom and pop businesses. And again, guys, most of the businesses in the United States are mom and pop businesses. A lot of these businesses will not be able to reopen because of lack of funding. A lot of these people didn't get the PPP loans or the EIDL loans. They just didn't get them. And they don't have adequate savings or money in the company to be able to continue to pay rent, make payroll, buy supplies, advertise. They just don't have the money to be able to do that. So what's going to happen? Of that 30 million people that are unemployed, there is going to be a big percentage that are going to be permanently unemployed. So that means, 20 million people, 15 million people, I don't know what the number is, but some of those people won't be able to go back to their old jobs because those old jobs are just not going to exist. As I mentioned earlier in the week, Boeing, who makes these jumbo jets, these aircrafts for companies like United Airlines, Delta, Southwest Airlines, Boeing has permanently laid off 16,000 employees, which represented 10% of their workforce. So the reason I tell you guys that is because there's a lot of information out there. Okay, again, my channel is about me trying to give you guys some information that I believe to be true. Now, it's just my opinion. I can't say it's etched in stone, but what I can say is go out and do your own research and start looking at the numbers and finding out what's out there. I can tell you right now, there's 30 million unemployed people in our country. Some of those people are not going to be getting their jobs back. So what are they going to do for income? A lot of people yell, wait, what about unemployment benefits? Well, yeah, right now unemployment benefits are kicking in. But guess what? Each state has only a limited supply of money when it comes to unemployment benefits. They just don't have a war chest ready to go that will be able to pay people unemployment indefinitely. Unemployment benefits will run out. These states will run out of money, and what's going to happen? And because so many businesses are not going to be able to reopen or either reopen at full capacity, they're not going to have a lot of money to pay back into the unemployment benefit trusts for most of these states. So that's why it's so important that we have a second round of stimulus checks. Now, I also would encourage our elected officials as they put together this second stimulus package to think about people who are unemployed in 2020, who perhaps made above those thresholds in 2019, 2018, but in 2020, they're not. They're unemployed, or they had a big reduction in their income. So those people need to be considered as well, which they were not considered in the first stimulus check for $1,200. You had to have met the income requirements for 2019 or 2018. But if in 2020, you had a reduction in income or no income, you were just left out in the cold. You didn't get any stimulus check. And I know a lot of you haven't already received your first stimulus check. What I would tell you is figure out why you haven't received it. Go to the IRS website and figure out why you haven't received your check. Now, some of you will be getting the check and it's going to be mailed to you. So just be patient. But I would say when in doubt, go to the IRS website and do some checking and figure out why your check hasn't arrived. Now, a lot of people are talking about the stock market. You know, when the unemployment numbers came out on Friday, May 8th, the stock market wasn't affected by it at all. And a lot of people are asking why. And I'll give you my opinion. Again, I'm no economist. I'm no stock market investing guru. I'm not on CNBC. I'm just a guy who has invested in the stock market for the last 20 years. And I have done well. So I'm just giving you my opinion. Well, what I think has happened is, you know, capitalism has nothing to do with our economy. You know, capitalism has everything to do with consumption, you know, consumers buying things. And I think what is happening with the stock market is when this pandemic broke out 2 months ago, everything sharply went down. Investors took all of their money out of the market. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't know how long this thing was going to last. But now that things have settled down, the country's starting to reopen again, investors are saying, wow, here's a great opportunity for us to get back in and really increase our wealth. They also know that the federal government of the United States, through the central bank or the Federal Reserve, is going to piggy bank these companies. They are going to lend these companies money, these Fortune 500 companies. They're going to lend them money at a cheap interest rate to make sure we don't have a widespread bankruptcy situation on our hands with our Fortune 500 companies. So, you know, the market knows that. You know, people who invest in the stock market, they know that. They understand that our government has made the decision they're not going to let these companies fail easily. These companies are going to be able to have access to money, to borrow money through the central banks, and be able to keep their operations running, continue to start rehiring people. And that is what the stock market is depending on. And that's what capitalism is dependent upon. And guess what? Capitalism doesn't really care where consumers get their money. They don't care if they get it from a job, where they earn a wage, or they get it from the federal government in the form of a stimulus check. The only thing capitalism cares about is that consumers are spending money on products and services from these companies. That's what capitalism depends on. Why is it important for the federal government to give stimulus checks to people, of this 30 million people and growing, who are out of work and who may be out of work for a long period of time due to permanent layoffs? Why? Because if we don't do that, guess what's going to happen? These consumers are not going to be able to buy stuff, not their basic stuff. They're not going to be able to go out to eat every now and then with their family and feel good about themselves. And ultimately, in the long run, it hurts our economy more. It hurts our economy more if we have 30 million people with no money coming in, and they can't pay their mortgage, they can't pay rent, they can't buy the essential things that they need in order to survive. It doesn't matter what the cost. We can either print money, or we can either take on debt as a country, at the end of the day, guys, the United States is the gold standard. This is where everybody flocks to in order to put their money in safe haven, is in the US dollar. We have the best financial system in the world, and that's not going to change because of this. And I believe with more stimulus checks to the American people, the people who deserve to have this money, is going to keep our economy going, and therefore it's going to keep our stock market and our financial system stable. Well, guys, if you're stopping by the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing, share the video, and smash that like button. It helps the channel and it helps me too. You guys stay safe, keep loving one another. We'll get through this thing, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.